Hello and welcome to Narayana IAS, your trusted partner in achieving success in the UPSC CSC examination. I am Pratik, your faculty for current affairs. Students, in today's session, we shall be focusing on 10 most important current affairs topics for Prelims 2025. So we have chosen 10 topics from this week. Now all those students who have missed watching the DNA this week can refer to this video to get a gist of all the important topics of the week. And all the topics that we have chosen will be very important for the prelims 2025. So make sure you watch the video completely and take down the notes so as to ensure that you do not lose any important topic from this particular week. On this note, let us begin with the first topic. Now, the first topic is on the tribal festival. Now, the members of the Toda tribe in the Nilgiris hill of Tamil Nadu, they celebrated a festival. Now, which is a festival? They celebrated the festival Modworth Festival. Now, you need to remember the tribe and the festival associated with the tribe for the examination. Let us know more about who are Todas. Now, Todas, they are indigenous tribal community of the Nilgiri hills in Tamil Nadu, which means they inhabit the Nilgiri hills in Tamil Nadu. 1 point for your prelims, right? Now, when it comes to tribals, we all know that they have unique culture. Their lifestyle is very different. But the Todas of Nilgiri hills, they are known for intricately embroidered shawls and distinctive crescent shaped huts. So, this point becomes very important for your prelims, right? So, make sure you remember this particular point when it comes to Todas of the Nilgiri hills. Now, they practice a pastoral lifestyle. What is pastoral lifestyle? Which means they raise livestock and are connected with the nature, right? This is how the tribals conduct or live their life. Now, what is a Mund? Mund is nothing but a hamlet. And what is hamlet? A cluster of villages, right? So, this term is again associated with the Todas, right? The Todas in our country or the Toda tribe, they are classified under the particularly vulnerable tribal group, that is PVTGs. Now, the particularly vulnerable tribal groups of a country are the most vulnerable of all the tribes in our country. We have so many tribal communities in our country. Of all the communities, these communities or PVTGs are the most vulnerable. Now, in the year 1973, the Debar Commission created primitive tribal groups, that is PTGs, as a separate category. But then in the year 2006, the government renamed what? PTGs into PVTGs. So, PTGs became PVTGs. Again, a very important point for your examination. Now, the categorization of tribes as PVTGs is done by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Right? And so far, India has 75 tribes which are classified under particularly vulnerable tribal groups. This is the first topic associated with the Toda tribe. So, the characteristics of this tribe is important for the UPSC examination, the area they inhabit, right? Now, the second topic is about the Great Nicobar Infrastructure Project, right? We all have heard of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So in the Nicobar Islands, there is an island in the name Great Nicobar Island. Now the central government is planning a major infrastructure plan or coming up with the infrastructure plan in the Great Nicobar Island. But the question is, will this infrastructure project affect the environmental sustainability of the region? So you see, there's a conflict between development and environment conservation. So how this project will affect the ecology or ecosystem, environmental ecosystem of that region is something that we'll be discussing. But for the prelims examination, see, if you want to understand the topic holistically, then the link of this video is given in the description. Here we'll be focusing on the points that are important for the examination, that is prelims 2025. But if you want to understand the topic holistically, then I request you to please open the link in the comment box. The link is provided in the description. Please open the link, the DNA notes link as well as the DNA video link. You can refer or understand the topic holistically from the link given in the description box. Now, first and foremost, we know that Andaman and Nicobar Islands, they consist of 836 islands in the Bay of Bengal region. So Andaman is at the north and Nicobar is at the south. Now Andaman and Nicobar Islands, these two different islands, they are separated by a 10-degree channel. Talking about the Great Nicobar Island, it is within an area of 910 square kilometer. The Great Nicobar Island is one of the largest islands in the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago, that is group of islands. Location, now through a picture we'll understand the location of Great Nicobar Island. The headquarter of Great Nicobar is at Campbell Bay. Again, a very important point for your prelims. The southernmost point of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is located in Great Nicobar Islands. It is referred by the name of Indira Point. Now, this Indira Point was submerged during the 2004 tsunami, right? So first we'll understand the ecological features and then we'll look at the picture of Andaman and Nicobar Island. So if I talk about the ecological features, this Andaman or this Great Nicobar Island, it hosts tropical wet evergreen forests. Tropical, why? Because it is situated close to the equator. So it will host tropical wet evergreen forest. Then this Great Nicobar Island is home to various fauna species such as crab-eating mac, Nicobar tree shrew, dugong. So these are the faunas or species that are found in the Great Nicobar Island. Now this point becomes very important for your prelims. Flora, again not that very important for your prelims, but please try to remember these species for your prelims examination. Now there are few ecological places in the Great Nicobar Islands which are very important, or they are categorized under protected areas. Which are these? The Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve, Campbell Bay National Park and the Galathea National Park. Very important points for your prelims. These all are located in the Great Nicobar Island. And then in the year 2013, the Great Nicobar Island, right, was included in the UNESCO's Biosphere Reserve under the Man and Biosphere Program. So each and every point that we have discussed, be the headquarter, be the fauna species, the protected areas, the UNESCO status, is all very important for your prelims examination. Then talking about the tribal communities, the indigenous, right, tribes that inhabit the region are the Shompen and the Nicobaris. Again, a very important point for your prelims. So this, if you look at the image or picture, this is the Andaman and Nicobar Island. You can see that a 10-degree channel is separating Andaman and Nicobar Island. And this is the Great Nicobar Island in the Nicobar Islands, right? And then if you see the locations, right, this is a Little Andaman, this is the state of Malacca, right? Then here we have Myanmar. So please, I request you to open the Atlas book, mark the important locations in the Atlas book. Now, a major port, India is planning a major port at this Galathea Bay, which is in the Great Nicobar Island. So these are some important locations. So I request you to please remember all the points that we discussed for prelims 2025. Now let us focus on the third topic. What is the context? The Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin, he made an announcement that anyone who is successful in deciphering the Indus Valley civilization script will be awarded. Right? This is the context. But here we need to know what exactly is Indus Valley civilization. Now, Indus Valley civilization, it is the world's earliest civilizations. One of the world's earliest civilizations is Indus Valley civilization. Now, one of the major cities in the Indus Valley civilization is the Harappa, and that's the reason Indus Valley civilization is also referred as the Harappa civilization. So, Harappa civilization or the Indus Valley civilization is one and the same. So, as discussed, it is one of the earliest civilization, right, which flourished in South Asia during the Bronze Age. So, this Bronze Age and this flourished along other civilizations like Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt and the Chinese civilization. Now, questions with respect to characteristics of the Harappan civilization can be asked in the examination. For example, let's say the major cities. Now, if I talk about the urban planning in the Indus Valley civilization, the cities in this civilization were laid out in the grid pattern. Grid pattern, that is, so this is how is grid pattern, right? This is how is grid pattern. So, there were well planned streets and neighborhoods. One feature of Indus Valley civilization. The second one is drainage system. Now, the drainage system in the Indus Valley civilization was advanced, which means there were underground drainage system, and this was taking care of the sanitation and the waste management. The third one is standardized bricks. The bricks were uniform in size. Then agriculture. So these were the crops: wheat, barley, cotton and other crops were grown during the Harappan civilization. And last, animals and symbols were engraved on the coins. Now, what exactly does this symbols or animal imply is yet to be deciphered or is yet to be known, right? So, seals and script, this is another feature of the Harappan civilization, right? So, let's focus on the fourth topic now. Decoding the national anthem controversy. Now, the governor of the state of Tamil Nadu criticized the Tamil Nadu government or the Legislative Assembly of Tamil Nadu by blaming that the Legislative Assembly of Tamil Nadu insulted the Indian Constitution and the national anthem. This is what the governor of Tamil Nadu criticized the assembly. But we do not want to go into the politics. We should understand which are the points important for the UPSC examination. For example, we need to know certain things or facts about our national anthem. One, the national anthem was composed by Rabindranath Tagore and it is a national symbol of our country. We take utmost pride in our national anthem. The second, so national anthem, it reflects our country's rich heritage. It fosters patriotism and loyalty towards our country, doesn't it? Now, this anthem was first published or launched in the 1911 Calcutta session of the Indian National Congress. This was the first time the national anthem was, let's say, published, right, in the year 1911. In the first instance, it was published in Bengali. Later on, it was translated into the one that we know, that is Jana Gana Mana. Then in 1941, Subhash Chandra Bose, right, he introduced a modified version with the name Shubha Sukha Chain during the freedom struggle. So, as I told you, initially it was written in the language Bengali, later on it was translated into Jana Gana Mana, right? And then the national anthem was adopted as India's national anthem when? January 24, 1950. And who adopted it? The President of the Constituent Assembly, that is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Now, let us understand the constitutional and legal safeguards. First, fundamental duties, Article 51A. Now, Article 51A, that is fundamental duties, right? It instructs every citizen to respect the Indian Constitution and the national anthem. So, it is the duty, fundamental duty of each and every citizen to respect, to take utmost pride in our constitution, national flag and national anthem. One. Second, the National Honor Act, which means anyone who is found to be disrespecting or insulting our national flag or national anthem can be punished by an imprisonment of 3 months or fine or both. One. So please remember the name of this. Then we have certain code of conduct when it comes to national anthem. That is how the national anthem should be sung, and when it is played or sung, it is important that everyone should stand as a mark of respect. So these are some code of conduct, right, framed for the national anthem. Now these are some of the Supreme Court judgments with respect to national anthem. For example, in the Bijoy Emmanuel versus State of Kerala in the year 1986, the Supreme Court ruled that forcing someone to sing national anthem will be violative of that person's freedom of religion under Article 25. So, you cannot force anyone to sing a national anthem, as that would be violative of the freedom of religion under Article 25. Then in the Shyam Narayan Choksi versus Union of India 2018 case, now there were two judgments, one 2016, the other one is 2018. Here the Supreme Court ruled that in the year 16 that it is mandatory for the cinemas to play national anthem before a movie. In the year 2018, the Supreme Court overruled its 2016 judgment, stating that it is not mandatory for the cinemas to play national anthem. But even to this date, the cinemas play national anthem, and as a mark of respect to all the people who let down their lives for the sake of our country, should be respected in the form of standing up during national anthem or when the national anthem is played. Now let us focus on the next topic, that is the Earth's water cycle and how climate change is impacting the Earth's water cycle. Now see this 2024 Global Water Monitor report. Now this is a report published by an international team of these countries. And the report highlights that how the climate change is impacting the Earth's water cycle. Earth's water cycle essentially means it refers to the movement of water, let's say on land, atmosphere and the oceans. So this climate change is actually changing the natural movement of water between land, atmosphere and the oceans. But the question is, what exactly is the Earth's natural cycle, or rather Earth's water cycle? Now please look at this image. Now see, the water moves in different forms, right? For example, the water moves in liquid, we have water, then gases, we have vapor, and then solid, that is in the form of ice. So water moves in different forms, liquid, gas and solid, right? Now let's say we have a lake, river or ocean. Because of the sun, because of the heat of the sun, the water in the water bodies evaporates, which means the water evaporates, that is the water converts into vapor. The water converts into vapor. This is known as evaporation. This is known as, see here, if you see, this process is referred to as evaporation. At the same time, even the leaves of the plants, they release water vapor in the atmosphere. The leaves of the plants, they release water vapor from the leaves. It is referred to as transpiration. Transpiration. So evaporation, that is water is evaporating in the form of vapor from the water bodies. Now these tiny water vapors, such tiny water vapors, they accumulate in the atmosphere, right? They accumulate in the form of clouds. They accumulate in the form of clouds and this is referred to as condensation. So vapor in the air, it forms clouds, it is referred to as condensation. Now when the clouds become heavy, when the clouds are unbearable, which means the clouds are not in a position to handle more vapors, the clouds become very heavy, this leads to precipitation. This leads to precipitation, which means rain. Now again the rain is filling the lakes, rivers or other water bodies. This is referred to as Earth's water cycle. This is referred to as Earth's water cycle. Right? Now if you see here, if I talk about the total global water, in the total global water, the oceans constitute 96.5 percentage, the fresh water constitutes only 2.5 percentage. So of the 2.5 percentage fresh water, right, the fresh water available on the surface is just 1.2 percentage, groundwater is 30 percentage and glaciers and ice caps is 68.7 percentage. So if I talk about the surface water and other fresh water, then we have atmosphere. In atmosphere we have 3 percentage, rivers. So this is how you see the availability of fresh water. I hope you understood the Earth's water cycle. Now the next topic, the 2023 caste-based census of Bihar. Now see, in the year 2023, please focus on this topic. In the year 2023, the government of Bihar had undertaken caste census. We have heard what is census. Now here the Bihar government had undertaken caste census. Why? The reason for undertaking caste census was to understand the disparities existing in the overall broader classification. For example, are all the communities in the OBC, that is other backward classes, is their situation similar? Or let's say the different communities existing in the SC bracket or ST bracket, is the situation, the social economic condition of the people or community is the same in the OBC category, SC category, ST category? That's the reason caste census was undertaken by the state of Bihar in the year 2023. Right now, this census was very crucial to understand the diversity existing into the different castes, as well as to understand the inequalities existing in between different castes. Right. So this was the context, but it is important to know the difference between census and the caste census. Census and the caste census. First, we'll understand what is census. See, census is nothing but it's a procedure of collecting the data of the population of a country, which means during census, information about the demographics, age, gender, housing, income, right? All this information is gathered. Why? So as to help the government to formulate policies for the development of a country, to understand the level of development in different parts of a country. This is the purpose why we undertake census. To understand the population composition, to understand the levels of development in different regions, right? It's a nationwide exercise. It is conducted every once in 10 years. The last census was conducted in the year 2011. In the year 2011. The first census was undertaken in the year 1872, but not in the entire country. It was carried out in a fragmented manner. But in the entire country, it was conducted in the year 1881 under the British rule. The responsibility of undertaking census lies on the shoulders of Office of the Registrar General and the Census Commissioner of India under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Very important point for your prelims examination. And the subject census falls under the union list of the 7th schedule, which means when it comes to census, only the union government can frame rules or rather undertake census throughout the country. The state governments cannot undertake census. Only the union government can undertake census. This is with respect to census, right? Now, when it comes to caste census, the purpose of undertaking caste census is to understand or get insights into the caste diversity of a country, to understand the composition of different castes in our country. For example, there are thousands of castes in the OBC category. To understand the population composition of different castes under the OBC category or SC category or ST category. Now, in the census, only the data of the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes is collected. The data of other castes other than the SCs and STs is not collected in the census. But in the caste census, the data of each and every caste is collected in the caste census. The last comprehensive caste census was undertaken in the year 1931 before independence. After independence, we did not have a comprehensive caste-based census. Yes, in the year 2011, along with the census, we also had undertaken socio-economic caste census. However, the information data was not released, was not published. As I told you in census, only SC and ST data is collected. In the caste census, information about each and every caste is collected. Right? The census is undertaken under the Census Act of 1948. Under the Census Act of 1948. But when it comes to caste census, there is no such mandate, which means even the state governments can undertake caste census, just like the state of Bihar had undertaken caste census in the year 2023. The purpose is to understand which all castes have developed by the virtue of reservation and which all castes are still backwards. This is the reason why caste census is undertaken. Next topic. India and the USA to jointly manufacture interoperable sonobuoys for Navy. Right? This is the context. So, what are sonobuoys? This is how a sonobuoy looks like. They are nothing but they are small devices used in the submarines. Right? The purpose is to detect submarines under the water. It's an advanced technology through which we'll understand the submarines which are, let's say, surveilling close to the Indian shores. Which means this sonobuoys are very important to ensure maritime safety and the safety of our ships. These are devices that detects these submarines. They are vital for modern naval operations and help enhance maritime security. Now, how do they work? For example, they are dropped from the sea or from the ship. They are dropped from the sea or ship. They float on the surface or are suspended underwater to listen for sounds. They float or are suspended. Now they detect sounds made by submarines and other underwater objects. What they do is they detect sounds of other submarines. The data is collected by these sonobuoys and then sent back to the operational unit. These are the types of sonobuoys. Now these are not that very important, but just try to remember the name of or the types of sonobuoys. And they are temporary devices with a lifespan ranging from few hours to several days. Now, given the threat India faces from China, India has entered into collaboration to manufacture sonobuoys in our country under the Make in India campaign, so as to ensure we learn the technology to manufacture or develop advanced technology to ensure or to make sure that we are protecting or safeguarding our security. Right? Next topic, we need accessibility rules that are based on principles. Now, in this topic, we'll be understanding this concept of right of persons with disabilities, rights of persons with disabilities. Now, the context is that the Supreme Court of India declared that Rule 15 of Persons with Disabilities Rule 2017 is unconstitutional. This rule is unconstitutional. See, this is an act. In order to implement the act, we need rules. The government has framed an act, a law. How this act will be implemented will be written in the rules. So, Rule 15 of this particular rules, the Supreme Court declared it to be unconstitutional. What exactly is Rule 15? We'll understand it. But let's try to understand the current status of people with disabilities in India. Now, these are some statistics which I want you to remember and mention, especially in the mains examination. So, this data becomes extremely important when it comes to people with disabilities. But we'll understand this particular law. Now, this 2016 Act, it has expanded the definition of disability, which means this act recognizes 21 disabilities. Autism. Now, autism is a developmental condition where a person does not know how to react or how to communicate with others. Then we have dwarfism, even acid attack survivors has also been included, which means the definition of disability, the government has expanded the definition of one. This is very important for your examination. And this aligns with the United Nations Convention on the Right of Persons with Disabilities. Very important. Now, we provide reservation to PWDs, that is people with disabilities. In government jobs, the reservation increased from 3 to 4 percentage, and then 5% reservation is given in the higher education institutions, including the private institutions. Very important point for your prelims. And then free education, right? Barrier free access to public spaces, transport, and then special courts are also established to ensure that the grievances of PWDs is disposed as quick as possible. Now this rule 15, which has been declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. This rule 15, right, of this rules provided a framework for issuing accessibility guidelines by various ministries and departments, which means various ministries and departments will be issuing accessibility guidelines to the public, or let's say to the public bodies, the bodies that are in the services sector. Now these guidelines, the guidelines issued by the ministries and departments, were expected to ensure compliance with the 2016 Act. However, the language used in Rule 15 gave discretionary powers to ministries, which means the ministries could also twist or distort the guidelines. Which guidelines? Accessibility guidelines. Which means as the discretionary powers were given to the ministries could have used the discretionary powers to twist or dilute what? Dilute the guidelines. And this would have violated the constitutional rights of the people with disabilities, and as a reason, the Supreme Court held it unconstitutional. And then these are the initiatives undertaken by the government of India for the people with disabilities. So I want you to remember all these schemes. Accessible India campaign, the purpose is to make public buildings and transport system accessible. Then we have unique disability identification project, PM Daksha scheme, then Deen Dayal disabled rehabilitation scheme. So these are some of the schemes the government of India has launched for the empowerment of PWDs. Then we also have global collaborations. For example, we have the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. This ensures that the people with disabilities enjoy all the rights, and these rights help in the empowerment of the PWDs. Then we also have this Make the Right Real. It provides time-bound framework for disability inclusive development in Asia Pacific region. So please remember all the domestic initiatives as well as the international initiatives. The next topic talks about genome sequencing. In the year 2025, India launched the Genome India database containing the whole genome sequencing of 10,000 individuals. So genome sequencing or genome is nothing but it's a manual. Imagine it as a manual to understand how your body functions. The genetic materials that's required for your body to function. For example, we have DNA, genes. So by sequencing the genome of 10,000 people, now these people will reflect the diversity of a country. These 10,000 people will be from different regions, covering all the regions of a country, covering all the different kinds of people of a country. The purpose is, once we achieve success in sequencing the genomes of 10,000 people, we'll be in a position to understand the faulty genes, or we can also predict the disease in advance in future, so as to ensure that medicines tailor-made medicines are given to a person, thereby preventing a disease. Now, what exactly is a genome? Now, genome is a complete set of genetic materials in an organism. Now, this is nothing but it is helpful for a human being or for a human being to function. DNA is made up of 23 pairs of chromosomes. We all know it, right? It contains the genome contains the genetic instructions necessary for the growth, development, and functioning. Now, this is very, very important for your prelims. This point will be asked in the examination for sure. The genomes, they are composed of 4 nucleotide bases: adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. So it's A, C, G, and T, which form the code for an individual's biological trait. Genome sequencing is to sequence this nucleotide bases in proper order, that is A, C, G, and T. So sequencing is a process of determining the exact order of nucleotide bases, right? Now, application: identify genetic causes of disorders. You can, predict the disease in advance, predict drug response based on the disease that may come up in future. You can predict the drugs to be given. In crops, the crops are infested with diseases, so study genetic diversity and evolutionary trends, then also to preserve the endangered species. Again, these are the initiatives. Now, this initiative was undertaken by the world. It was largely confined to the Western world, but now India has, launched this project in the year 2020. So, the detailed explanation you can find in the description. In the description, you will find a link of this video, of this explanation. If you want to understand it in detail, then please open the link. And the last topic of the day. The last topic talks about the right to information. Now, a petition has been filed in the Supreme Court, thereby ensuring that the vacancies in the Information Commission both at the central as well as at the state level are filled as soon as possible. Now, we'll understand what is right to information. Right to information as a law was enacted in the year 2005. What is RTI? RTI, which means if I want to know or get the information from the government, let's say I want to know how much the government has, let's say, spent on education, on, let's say, military budget, defense budget. I have the right to file an application because ultimately the government is spending money, taking money from the people. It is people's money. So people have the right to know where the government is spending money. That's the reason a law was framed in the year 2005 wherein every citizen of a country can approach relevant public authorities to seek information of the government and thereby hold the government accountable. Now, this point becomes very important. The right to information or the implementation of RTI falls under the Department of Personnel and Training, and this department falls under the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions. Very important point for your prelims. Now, this right to information is recognized as a human right in the global instruments such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, which means in the international framework, this right to information is considered as a human right. So important is this right. Now, this RTI was first introduced in the year 2002 as Freedom of Information Act. Later on, it was replaced as RTI in the year 2005. Now see, these are some of the judicial cases. For example, in the year 1975, the Supreme Court held that this right to information is implicit, is linked to Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, which means the Supreme Court linked this particular right to a fundamental right. In the year 1982, the Supreme Court asserted that right of the people to know about every public act and the details of every public transaction undertaken by public functionaries. Now, in this case, the Supreme Court linked RTI with Article 19. In this case, the Supreme Court linked RTI with Article 21, which is right to life and liberty. This explains or this reflects the importance of this particular act in the eyes of Supreme Court. So, which are the key provisions of the RTI Act of 2005? First, we have the central and the state information commissions. Now, these commissions are responsible to oversee the implementation, at the same time address grievances with respect to the right to information cases, right? Then, public information officers. Now, every public authority or every, let's say, department has a PIO. This officer is responsible to provide the information as asked by a citizen. So, it is the PIO at the center level as well as at the state level. So, the PIO at the center as well as at the state level, they are responsible for providing the information as asked by a citizen. Now, this is applicable to the government bodies as well as institutions that are substantially financed by the government of India, or let's say the government. Now, there are some exemptions. Any citizen cannot ask an information which is important for the national security. Let's say tomorrow a citizen cannot ask the operations of IB, Intelligence Bureau, or for that matter, Research and Analysis Wing. They cannot ask. So, any information which is important for national security, such information cannot be provided. These are the exemptions under right to information. And then the lower courts are barred, which means the lower courts under the high courts, they cannot entertain appeals with respect to right to information, which means only the Supreme Court and the high courts under writ jurisdiction, Article 32 and 226. Only the Supreme Court and the high courts can entertain right to information appeals, right? And penalty, let's say if any officer, public PIO, that is public information officer, is found to provide wrong information or fails to provide information, that officer will be penalized. One. Second, time frame. So, once a citizen asks for information, the PIO has to provide the information within 30 days. But let's say if the information asked by a citizen is linked with the life of a person or liberty of a person, then the information has to be provided within 48 hours. These are some of the provisions under right to information. So, I hope students you understood all the 10 important topics of the week. Again, the students who failed to watch the DNA of this particular week must have understood all the important topics of this particular week. I hope this session was important and helpful for all of you. If you think that this topic was or this session was important, then I request you to please hit the like, subscribe and share button. Thank you so much for watching.